Welcome to the show, where we discuss time-tested and science-supported tools for better health, long life, and pleasures. If you ever wish to possess a magic power that will allow you to stimulate yours or other people's choices, decisions, emotions, amorous attraction, and moods, then this episode is for you. I'm Lilian Zeltzer, and for over 3 decades, I researched, practiced, and hunted for natural stimulants for better health, longevity, and pleasures. In the process, I discovered many effective, time-tested, and science-supported solutions, which I share with those who want them. I hope that my efforts will inspire you to use this valuable knowledge because, as Hippocrates said in 4th century BC, if you're not your own doctor, you're a fool. On this note, our nose can sense up to 350,000 different scents, which our brain processes as call for action. Wouldn't it be great to know how you can use scents and perfumes for your own and other people's benefit? To guide us through this magic world of aromas, I invited an amazing expert who knows it all, Sue Phillips, who is a recognized international fragrance authority and the author of the best-selling book, The Power of Perfume. She worked for top companies like Elizabeth Arden, Lancome, Tiffany, and Burberry, Trish, McAvoy, Lancaster, Avon, just to name a few. She also creates unique signature scents for celebrities. Please welcome Sue Phillips.
Hello, Lillian. Thank you for having me. I'm so excited to be here tonight.
Thank you for allowing us to talk to you today, because I know how busy you are with multiple interviews and people queuing up just to consult you on their scents. May I ask you, what made you get into this mysterious, competitive, and complex world of fragrances?
I would love to say that it was something that I had planned. But you know, like most wonderful things that happen in life, it was serendipitous. I was born in South Africa, and I was a singer and an actress. I was an actress at this age of 10, and I got the acting bug, and I always wanted to be an actress. And so I went to London to try and study at RADA, Royal Academy of Dramatic Art. And sadly, I didn't get in. There were only 5 available spots for about 10,000 applicants. And coming from South Africa, they weren't very friendly to South Africans at that time. So I went to New York. My brother was living here, and I just fell in love with the passion and the energy of New York. I went to see an immigration attorney, and he said to me, "What do you do?" And I said, "Well, I'm a singer and an actress." He said, "Forget that. We have 20,000 out-of-work singers and actresses. We don't need another one." And he asked me what else I had done. And I had told him I'd done a business course. And he said, "Were you any good?" And I knew that that was my ticket into America. And I said, "Yes." And so he sponsored me for my green card. And then at night, I would go singing and acting and work with different clubs. And at the end of the year, I got my green card. I went to a headhunter, and I got the position of National Training Director for Elizabeth Arden because I could stand up in front of people and speak, and they thought I'd be very good in training. And that's how I started in the fragrance industry. I was at Elizabeth Arden in training and product development and marketing. Then from there, Lancome hired me as marketing director for fragrance and men's skincare. And then, believe it or not, Tiffany hired me as executive vice president of Tiffany, and I helped and developed the first Tiffany iconic perfume. And Lillian, if you'd have told me growing up in South Africa that one day I'd be living in New York and creating fragrances for major brands, I'd say you're crazy. But that is the wonderful thing about serendipity, that no matter where you go in your life, you never know what path you're going to take, and just be open and willing to accept the beautiful things that come your way and work hard, be grateful, and pay attention to detail.
Absolutely. Well, you certainly have amazing gift, and you're multi-talented, because the volume of knowledge is very vast. Well, I would like to talk to you for hours, but unfortunately we have time limit. So I'll get to the business. Our viewers would love to use fragrances let's call a spade, to manipulate their own moods, senses, decision-making processes, to make them more attractive, and to influence other people's action. What scents are a turn-off for men and women, and what scents can be considered neutral?
Well, everything has a trend and everything has a life cycle. And so right now, the current trend is all about neutral, genderless, gender-free, shall we say, fragrances. So it's not as though fragrances right now are only for women, florals are only for women, or spicy and woodsy are only for men. The whole trend right now is this neutral, unisex fragrance that both men and women can enjoy. And one of the things that I have discovered is that people don't really know what type of fragrance they like. They go to the stores, or they find out what their friends wear, or they read the magazines and say, oh, this is the latest fragrance. And maybe the latest fragrance doesn't really sit well with them. It doesn't really make them feel wonderful or sexy or sensual or confident. And maybe it doesn't match their body chemistry. And so what I have done is I've created a scent personality quiz. And the scent quiz really helps people to reflect their individuality and their personality. And so by taking the scent quiz, you discover which fragrance family, which fragrance category really suits your personality. So whether you like fresh or floral or woodsy or spicy, it's really important to know what your body chemistry is going to accept. So that's really how I help people determine their own olfactory persona.
That is very complex. So if we rely on our nose only, it probably won't work as well as if we use services of an expert that can match our own smell print with something that's from outside world. Am I correct?
Yes, you're absolutely. It's what happens is people will smell something in the air, or a woman will walk by and they'll smell the sillage, the trail, and they'll say, oh la la, it's wonderful. And then they'll go and try it, and maybe it doesn't match their body chemistry. I'm very fair. And so I'm fair. And so certain fragrances are really going to be good on me and will last very long. Or sometimes fragrances will just dissipate. If somebody is more darker or they have oilier skin, the fragrance is going to change. So it's really important to discover what your own scent persona is. And maybe when a woman walks by and you smell the fragrance and you think, oh my God, it's so wonderful. And then you try it, but it doesn't suit you. So that's why I always say, why wear what everybody else wears when you can actually create and wear your own?
I totally agree with that. So there is no universal turn off smell that you can name, like old person scents or overly flowery or too sweet, something.
Well, there are definite trends. when Coco Chanel first created her fragrance in 1920, she went to a very famous perfumer called Ernest Beaux, B-E-A-U-X. And she said to him, Monsieur Beaux, I want a fragrance that is going to be perfect for the women I am clothing. I want something fresh and modern and feminine and very different. And in 1920, the fragrances were very bold and very heavy and very spicy. And so she went to this perfumer and he was concocting some molecules in the lab. And he came up with a fragrance, which was a mixture of al from alcohol and dehydrogenated carbon oil. And that became a category called aldehyde or aldehydic. And he mixed that very powdery molecule with some rose and jasmine and ylang-ylang. And he mixed it and he presented it to Madame Chanel. And she just fell in love with it because it was very different. And so that became very popular. Now, it has been popular for over a century. But when young people smell Chanel 5 blind, without knowing that it's Chanel 5, they say, oh, it's old-fashioned, it's powdery. So there are certain trends that depict certain decades. And, you know, so of course, that's Chanel number 9, Chanel number 5. In the 80s, the very heavy, big, bold fragrances like 𝐥𝐤𝐤 was popular. In the 90s, things retracted. It was Issey Miyake's Eau de l'Odyssée. In 2000, the time of the millennial, everybody wanted to go millennium. Everybody wanted to go back to nostalgia. So they went back to the classics, the Chanels, the Arpège, the Dior. And then what happened was in the 2000 and 2005 and 2010 and where we are now, it's all about customization. People want something that reflects who they are. There's also a big trend that oud is very popular. And so I talk to people and I say, you know, every culture has a different scent profile. For instance, in America, everybody loves fresh and clean fragrances. In South America, they like spicy. In Europe, they like florals. In England, they love the lavender and the herbaceous fragrances. And in the Middle East, they love the heavy oud and the incense. So it's very interesting how different cultures have a different scent persona, very much like food. You know, people love Chinese food, Japanese food, South American spicy food, barbecues. So it's very interesting how the senses are very aligned to different cultural activities and different cultures.
Absolutely. I totally agree with you. But if a person created own perfume, not by her or himself, but with help, should they stick to that particular one perfume for all occasions, or should they change their perfume according to the activity or the situation they are in?
That's a great question. And absolutely, people can change their fragrance. For instance, if you're going to be going outdoors and it's a summer and you want something light and refreshing and very effervescent, you won't wear a heavy fragrance. And by the same token, if you're going to a very formal occasion, a very fancy dinner or a beautiful, you know, formal gown, you're wearing a formal gown and going to a black tie function, you want something a little more sophisticated. And so understanding what preferences you like and what preferences you have for different occasions is very important. You can, you know, have a fragrance wardrobe, have something light and refreshing for summer casual days, have something more sophisticated for evenings. And you can also still wear your signature scent for all occasions. Because once you create a signature scent, it might possibly work for any of those occasions because it still reflects who you are. And I know that's hard to understand, but if you have a fragrance that you have created that reflects who you are and it makes you feel comfortable and confident and it's appropriate for any occasion, then why not? Why not wear that?
All right. Well, that's great. Well, are there any scents that are considered to be the sexiest right now? Because it is fashion, of course, a matter of taste and fashion.
So, well, you know, musk was very sexy in the 60s. And the reason musk was so sexy, it was reminded people of a lot of sensuality. You know, there are certain cultures where they like women to be very musky and very sensual. In fact, Napoleon said when he was coming back from war, he wrote a letter to Josephine and he said, "I'm coming back in a week. Do not bathe for a week." So the idea was that he wanted her own natural body odors and her own aromas because that was very seductive and very sensual. So there are certain fragrances that are more sensual and more seductive and more sort of sexy than others. For instance, something that's light and fresh and citrusy is not very seductive, but something that's got a little bit of oud and musk and even some vanilla could be considered sexy and sensual because it's a little bolder and it's a little bit more sensual, shall we say. There are some certain rose and floral fragrances that are very sexy and very sensual. But there's sometimes when you combine something with an oud, a beautiful sensual sandalwood, and a beautiful musk, and an exquisite gardenia or a rose, you can come up with something very exotic and very sensual. So it just depends on, again, what suits your body chemistry. You know, they always say that the way to a man's heart is through his stomach. And so food flavors, food aromas are very sensual. So vanilla and some beautiful pomegranate and some luscious fruity notes can be very enticing and very exotic. So don't discount how food flavors can be very, very enticing and exotic and erotic too.
Okay, so there is not one particular perfume that we can put on that would trigger instant attraction. So it is difficult to match what you like to what other people would like. You mentioned a story about Napoleon.
Yes.
Well, there is, and musk, there is a historical fact that when Napoleon divorced Josephine, his first wife, and married a Polish princess, young girl, in order to have a heir. He brought her into the bedroom where they slept with his first wife. But the first wife, Josephine, soaked all wooden parts of the bed with musk, which she used to wear. And it resulted in Napoleon's inability to perform his marital duties with a new wife. So that was her revenge.
She was very clever.
Absolutely. You also mentioned that some fragrances can be related to food. And absolutely, well, I just came back from my 3.5 months long expedition to Europe, where I visited amazing museums and ancient monasteries where they made perfumes from 1221, in particular that famous Santa Maria Novella Perfumery.
I was there recently.
Yes, and I was lucky enough to talk to the perfumer there, who told me that during COVID, period, the sales of their gourmet range of perfumes with food-related scents like vanilla, cheesecake, chocolate, caramel, coffee, oysters, strawberries, orange blossoms have skyrocketed 3,000% because, like food, some scents can project feelings of health and security, which people wanted during that period. Right. So, what percentage of food scents that you use in your art?
It's a wonderful question. And you know, it's interesting because I will tell you that our strongest sense is our sense of sight. Our most powerful is our sense of smell because it is connected to the limbic system. It's connected to memories and emotions and food and taste. And so when people during COVID, lost their sense of smell, they also lost their sense of taste. So smell and taste, scent and taste are very connected. And I would tell you that there are certain food notes that are very important in perfumery. So certainly the balsamic, the vanilla note is very important. The fruity notes, beautiful, luscious fruity notes, the strawberries, the berries, the honeys, the notes. There are some wonderful spice, everything that's in your spice cabinet. So think about everything that's in your spice cabinet, even some wonderful, luscious, edible, fruity, gourmand, edible vanilla notes. So food and flavor are very connected. And I would tell you that even a combination of vanilla and honey and pomegranate and berries and coconut and pineapple, those notes are very luscious and very edible. And when you combine them with some, florals or citrusy or spicy or woodsy notes, it becomes very, very sensual and quite exotic and very different.
Yes, and of course it's not new. Since early civilizations, people used outside world to enhance their body fragrance.
And I think, yes.
Like in ancient Greece,
and I think
basil behind the ears of young men to attract young women. Sorry,
yes, yes, definitely the herbaceous notes. A lot of the herb notes, lavender and rosemary and anise, and all these notes that are used in aromatherapy, which are herbaceous notes, the fougere type notes, are also very, very popular in fragrance. So food and flavor are very popular and very important for fragrances.
Right. There is big distinction between scent and smell. Scent is something light, a little woof of something pleasant, where smell can be overpowering. How much perfume should one put on the body and wear to make it pleasant for others and yourself?
Well, I think the word, there are so many different words for scent. You've got fragrance, scent, aroma, perfume, and then you've got some bad words too, smell and some terrible words, which I won't even say. But, it's all a question of the aromatic feeling that it gives you. So you asked me, where should people apply fragrance? I used to go to Paris very often on business, and I would speak with all the perfumers. And I tell the story that they say, "Oh, you Americans, you have no idea how to wear a perfume." She said, "We in France been wearing perfumes for centuries. We know that the fragrance rises as the body heat warms the perfume. So apply the fragrance from the bottom up at the ankles. So when the long skirts, the swishing of the skirts makes the fragrance rise, behind the knees, in between the thighs, in the bosom area, and at all the pulse points wherever you want to be kissed. She
Oh,
said, what does the Americans do? A spritz here and a spritz here. Who does they attack? The birds and the clouds.
oh, I love that. I love that. On this note, I will put another question. Because you suggest, or French suggests that you should apply perfume to the place that one wants to be kissed,
Yes.
you want to be kissed. What is your favorite perfume, and where do you apply it?
Well, my favorite perfume now is the one that I make for myself. My own fragrance formula, which is a beautiful, it starts off with a lovely, very sensuous, almost like a vibrant green flowers, green leaves, green teas, and a hint of violet leaf. It goes into a beautiful rose, an exotic rose with cognac and clove, and a hint of vanilla with the balsamic vanilla. And when I wear it, people stop me in the street. And you know what, Lillian? I wear it all over.
That is wonderful. I can almost smell, because when we see people, we also perceive how they smell. So I almost can smell. I used Paloma Picasso for many, many years while I was running an active business.
I love that. It's a chic.
There you go.
Yes. I love that.
It is iconic perfume. I also used Fragonard, and I've been to a Fragonard place, and it is
Yes.
Perfume for nighttime, very light. I have in my collection over 100 different beautiful perfumes, designer and others. But my favorite is the memory of my mom, which is, and you probably would recognize the bottle.
Oh, yes, Bala Versailles.
No, it is Cartier.
Oh, that's Cartier. It looked like, oh,
Cartier
yes.
With yes, it's hard to see because it's clear, but it's a center that sits on a globe. When I feel nostalgic, I always take this bottle out. It's very precious to me because my mom passed away a year ago. So it is the smell that triggers those beautiful memories. So we go back to the magic of perfume. If we learn how to use perfume to our advantage and advantage of others, we'll reach to a sphere of magic and pleasure. So thank you very much for your time. On behalf of our viewers and myself, I would like to thank you for your time, for sharing your knowledge, and we wish you great health and a triumph in what you do.
Thank you so much for this opportunity. It's lovely to see you. You're in Australia. I'm in New York. How wonderful to be together. And thank you for your interest and your love and your sharing of your passion for fragrance too. I'm very happy to be here. And thank you so much. And thank you to all the viewers for watching.
If you enjoyed this episode, please subscribe to our YouTube channel so you won't miss any of the new episodes. If you have questions, comments, or suggestions, please put them below the video. I do read them. If you are looking for a good, reliable source of specific ingredients, experts, services, or products, click on the resources link under this video. To health, long life, and pleasures.